And welcome, welcome. Thank you. As the screen says, thank you for joining. I see people are still coming in. I'm going to give them a couple more minutes here. But in the meantime, just to make sure that everyone can hear me and see me, please put a 1 in the chat. You can hear me, see the screen. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for your help there. Seems we're all good. All right. I am super excited for today because we have, I believe it's 400 and something, 406 or something along those lines of registrants for this event. So right now we have about 100. So we are expecting maybe another 100. So it seems that there is a lot of interest in today's topic. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it as people come in. So this is an NJThrives small business webinar. So we do host these regularly. It's not weekly for now, but we've been holding them every 2 weeks, every month. And basically, they're webinars to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. So my name's Christian Pichardo. I will be your host. I'm an NJSBDC program coordinator and specialty consultant, as well as CEO at nalumomedia.com. Now, we do have a special guest. We'll save her for a little later. She'll be coming on in just a moment. But I'd like to invite our special guest, Francis Keel, who has been coming from the organization NJEDA, the CSIT program, and they've been a great help and support when it comes to SBIR and STTR programs. So I'd like to invite you on, Francis.
Good morning. My name is Francis Keel, and I am a program officer with the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. Unfortunately, Judith Sheff, our executive director, had a conflicting appointment and could not make it this morning, so please bear with me as I try to fill in for her. Christian, do you have the slides, or do I need to put my slides up?
You would have to put it up.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing my screen. You can go ahead.
Okay.
In the meantime, everyone, I'd love to hear what kind of business you're in. So, obviously, if you'd like to share it, but of course, this helps for networking purposes as well. So if you put your what business you're in the chat, would love to speak to you specifically to your business, or make some connections in the chat. Who knows?
Okay. How do I get rid of this? Okay. Let me go back. Okay, to start, CSIT is a sister agency to the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Our mission is that we are responsible for strengthening the innovation economy within the state, encouraging collaboration and connectivity between industry and academia, and the translation of innovations into successful high-growth businesses. Our target is early-stage entrepreneurs developing innovation-based companies. We focus on technologies in the following sectors: technology, life sciences, offshore wind, clean energy, transportation and logistics, advanced manufacturing, food and beverage, finance and professional services, and film and digital media. The work of CSIT can be categorized into 3 areas: linkages, training or support, and grant opportunities. In the first area of focus, linkage, we provide connections for entrepreneurs to gain access to academic partners. We do this by providing access to private R&D facilities, personnel, and technology, and we connect entrepreneurs to investors. Our second area of focus is support. We support training opportunities with entrepreneurs. An example of this is that we provide SBIR, STTR coaching opportunities through the New Jersey Small Business Development Center for small business companies. We also support webinars such as this with federal agencies on SBIR, STTR funding opportunities. The last area, which is our primary focus, is that we provide a multitude of grants to early stage entrepreneurs. For companies that receive a federal SBIR, STTR, Phase 1, Fast Track, or Direct to Phase 2 grant, we offer a matching grant of $25,000. For those that apply for federal Phase 2 funding but have not yet received the award, we offer a $50,000 bridge grant. We also provide two types of voucher programs, Clean Tech R&D and Catalyst R&D. The Clean Tech R&D voucher program is intended to support early stage clean tech and clean energy companies in New Jersey to access core facilities, equipment, and makerspaces at any participating New Jersey university, facility, or government lab for clean energy and clean technology research and development. The Catalyst R&D voucher program supports New Jersey-based early-stage company efforts to accelerate development and innovation of technologies to transform new discoveries from research stage into commercially viable technologies, leading to industry and investor interest. We also provide two types of seed grants, Catalyst R&D and Clean Tech Seed R&D. The goal of the Catalyst Seed R&D grant program is to help New Jersey-based early-stage innovation companies accelerate development of technologies to transform new discoveries from research stage into commercially viable products and services. The Clean Tech Seed Grant Program, developed in coordination with the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities and the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, is aimed at helping New Jersey-based early-stage clean energy and clean tech businesses accelerate development and innovation of clean technologies to transform new discoveries from research stage into commercially viable technologies, leading to industry and investor interest. Additionally, we support a maternal and infant health R&D grant program. The goal of the maternal and infant health R&D grant program is to support innovation from researchers and entrepreneurs focused on developing technology, therapeutics, and other solutions to address maternal and infant health challenges in New Jersey. Lastly, we support a clean tech demonstration project program. The goal of the pilot Clean Tech Demonstration Grant Program is to support New Jersey-based companies to accelerate the commercialization and deployment of innovative clean energy technologies by demonstrating capabilities in a real-world setting. Lastly, CSIT also supports and manages, along with the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education, a comprehensive information support platform, Research with New Jersey. This free database helps you discover thousands of experts in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, as well as their professional backgrounds, publications, and achievements. It also helps you learn about the research departments and specializations of our five participating universities: New Jersey Institute of Technology, Princeton University, Rutgers University, Rowan University, and Montclair State University. As companies are applying for the federal SBIR STTR grant program, Research with New Jersey is a pivotal site that provides the ability to create partnerships that will further strengthen the applicant's application. I will stop here and turn it back over to our host. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Francis. So I know you were having some issues with the slides. So for everyone on here, we're going to send the slides towards the end of the webinar to everyone. So no worries on that end. Thank you so much, Francis.
Yes.
All right. So let me just do a quick little search here. All right. Okay. Our state director won't be able to come on, but show must go on. And I'd like to give you a quick introduction to the NJSBDC. So we are America's New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network. Basically, we're a statewide program. We're powered by the SBA, Small Business Administration, and state partners such as the NJDA, who you just saw. And we help small businesses in New Jersey with 3 things. So that's no cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, and exclusive small business resources. So as far as today's agenda, we're going to go over several headlines that we have for small businesses. We'll jump into the webinar right after that. And then towards the end, I'd like to have a little Q&A session, but I do encourage everyone to submit any questions throughout the presentation. So first one here is what we're excited about and is why everyone is here for. So the NJSBDC, our organization, was named the Federal and State Technology or FAST Award recipient. So this funding allows us to help early stage tech companies, and we're able to provide you with technical assistance for specifically the SBIR and STTR programs. So we're super excited, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that on today's presentation and webinar. But the second one here is just to remind you that Small Business Saturday is around the corner. It's after Black Friday, and it's just a reminder for everyone to shop small. So I'm sure you all know some type of small business, and it doesn't have to be a family or a friend. It could be the coffee shop around the corner. Just make sure to support your small businesses in your community, because the United States is made up of about 97% small businesses. So do you think we support the country's economy? Could be. So after that, we have Keene University is launching alongside our SBDC Center located in Keene University. We're launching learning labs to help small businesses grow. So if you're in the county of Union, I believe, so that's where Keene University is located at. We are creating the first learning lab, and I'll drop the links on these articles into the chat so that you can visit them later. But if you're in the area, you're a small business, I'm sure you are if you're here, this might be helpful for you. So those are the headlines. I do want to jump into the meat and potatoes here. So before we get into the webinar, 2 things to keep in mind. Please type your questions into the Q&A box. Please do not misread this typo. So it's not chat box. It will get lost with all the conversations and messages in there. So it is much easier for us to sift through all the questions if you put them in the Q&A. And basically, it's on the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. You're going to see something that says Q&A, and you can ask questions as yourself or anonymously there as well. And number 2 is once the webinar closes out, you're going to get redirected to a 3-minute survey. This allows us to develop new events, new trainings that are most helpful to you. So we're incredibly grateful if you can stick along to the end and complete that 3-minute survey. And once that's completed, you'll get access to the webinar resources, such as the speaker's presentation and slides, and as well as the recording of this webinar. So without further ado, I'd like to invite on David Linz. He's our NJSBDC tech consultant, and he's going to show you today how it's possible to get up to maybe $2 million for your big tech idea for 0 equity. So how are you, David?
Okay.
All right.
Can
So the
you
show
see my
is all
slide?
yours.
Okay.
Yes, I can see your slides.
Okay, good. Okay, the topic today is how to tap America's seed fund for your new tech innovation. So there's some loaded words in there. A seed fund is, we're talking about risk capital, and new tech innovation means that we're talking about new technology, not existing technology, something that's a new innovation. And the government has set aside money for that. So let's dig right into it. Okay, Chris wanted me to say why you should listen to me, and here it is. I've been doing this for a long time. I've written dozens and reviewed hundreds of SBIR proposals and been a federal agency reviewer and developed state programs to help assist companies, small businesses. And if you know what this is, I was a Tibbetts Award winner in 2017 and an I-Corps mentor. And if you don't know what that is, it's okay. Today, we're going to talk about what is SBIR and STTR. Mostly, I'll be using these words interchangeably. There are subtle differences, but mostly conceptually, they're very similar. So I'll be using those terms interchangeably and explain them in a minute. I'll talk about some reasons why you might consider pursuing this. Just lay out briefly what the three-phase program is, and then we'll discuss whether this is a good fit for your company and give you some pointers on how to get started. So let's just jump right into it. First of all, the SBIR program is administered by the SBA, Small Business Administration. So you can find a lot of information about this at sbir.gov. And in fact, there's a whole series of tutorials, many tutorials that dig into all these topics in a lot more detail. So if you want to find out more information about the SBIR, the SBA has spent a lot of money putting these tutorials together, and they want us to take benefit of it, take advantage of it. Okay, so what is SBIR, STTR? Let's look at the words real quickly. Small Business Innovation Research. So small business, we'll get into this more later, but it's typically less than 500 calories, 500 employees. Innovation. In there, the key point here is technical novelty and risk. And I'll explain that a little bit more. But just keep that in the back of your mind. If it's an innovation program, that means there is some technical novelty and technical risk in whatever it is that you're proposing. And then research. You're actually going to be doing research to fill the gaps to prove that your idea is feasible. So STTR is Small Business Technology Transfer Research. And that was created so that universities could transfer their technology, their patents, and get assistance to fund small businesses that are licensing university technology. So again, the important word there is technology transfer. Now that means a specific thing in universities, as you know, it typically means licensing out patents. But for the STTR program, we're talking about small businesses that are leveraging the university research and getting funded to do it. The key point being, for all of these programs, commercial merit. If your idea has commercial merit, that's premier. I mean, that is the top need for any proposal. So let me just go through real quick some reasons why you might consider it. Well, first of all, there's 11 different federal agencies that are involved in this. $3.9 billion in the most recent year that I had data for, and it's earmarked just for small businesses. Up to $2 million available for each business for a project, and to develop research and develop innovative technology. Now here are the agencies. I'm not going to go through them, just so you know that there are agencies. The point of this slide is just to show you there's a real diversity of technologies that are represented by these agencies. So there could be a good fit for whatever it is you're working on. The first 6 of these in green have an STTR program. The balance of these agencies do not have an STTR program. So continuing on here, in the most recent year I had data for, 6,800 awards, 70 solicitations, 1,500 topics. There might be something out there for you. the key here is these are grants. They're federal grants or contracts. With the Department of Defense, it's typically a contract. Usually for the other agencies, it's a grant. So this is non-dilutive. This is capital that's going into your company, but you don't have to give up shares for it. But I say it's not free because you're going to have to work for it. It's a very competitive program, and you're going to have to work to get one of these projects approved, awarded. Okay, another reason is it allows you to build own intellectual property that you own. Another reason, it allows you to build technical staff. The small business I was with several years ago, we were able to recruit one of the leading scientists in the whole world for this project that we got federal funding for, and we got the award, was able to hire this person. The person eventually became president of the company. So that's a really good reason to consider SBIR. It's a vehicle to leverage other people's equipment and expertise. You might need the equipment from a national lab or from a large corporation, and it's pretty hard to get on their radar screen. But if you have an SBIR application, sometimes that helps you open those doors and have discussions because they know you're coming with some potential funding to fund whatever work it is that you're going after. So another important problem, I don't know, or reason, I don't know if you can see this. It's under the Zoom video for me, but it's peer-reviewed federal research. They go through an extensive peer review process in order to award these projects. And when you talk to investors and potential partners, getting an SBIR award does give you some credibility with investors and with potential partners. Finally, at the end result, the whole objective is to develop new products or services for sale. And you do establish a sole source marketing position with the government through one of these awards. And finally, some people argue with me about this, but I think the process is worth it, even if you don't get an award, because of the strategies you develop and the planning you do and the people and partners you meet. And if you're going to go through one of these application processes and work with me or work with anyone at the SBDC here in New Jersey, we're going to challenge you to think strategically about your business and about your innovation. And that process is worth it, even if you end up not getting an award. So what does the program look like? Well, it's a 3-phase program. Nominally, the first phase is called feasibility. And the second phase is prototype. So in the feasibility phase, we're looking at awards on the order of $100,000 for the smaller agencies to $275,000, and sometimes more for some of the larger agencies. And then for phase 2, we're looking at up to $1.8 million, and again, sometimes even more for some of the agencies. But in phase 1, remember what I said about technical risk. You've got an idea that can be really big and really impactful if it's developed, but there's still technical risk in it. So the government is going to give you some money to do some research to prove that your idea is feasible. And then if it is feasible, that there's money available to actually develop it into a commercial product. And then the third phase is commercialization. They typically don't fund the phase 3, but some of the agencies have some programs that even provide support for phase 3. In other words, beyond phase 2, there is some funding with some of the agencies. So the program looks like this. Phase 1, to get a phase 1 award, you've got a technical proposal to put together. You really need to address in that proposal the market opportunity. You've got to present a project team that's qualified to do the work, and the environment. The environment really means the business, the strength of the business, the employees in the business, the facilities you have to do the work. And again, for phase 1, oftentimes the small business is leasing or making other arrangements for these but you do have to show the government that you have the opportunity and you have the ability to complete the project. And then to talk about the budget, there's some pretty strict budget requirements, and so you have to show how you're going to use the money precisely. Now, phase two is very similar, but the exception being you also have a phase one final report that you have to present to show that make your case that you've shown feasibility for your project. And then also, as part of phase two, you have to prepare a commercialization plan. And that's sometimes up to 10 or 15 pages of a very specific commercialization plan. You might think of it's a business plan, but it's more than a business plan because you're looking at the specific hurdles and opportunities, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats to take your new product into the marketplace and to be able to convince the agency that if they fund this, that there's a reasonable expectation that they're going to be able to take it on to commercialization. And then the same things as phase one. And then phase two is just simply commercializing the project. And again, I said there's some funding for that, but not typically. So we'd have to talk about that offline. For your specific idea. Is this a meet with people? I have this set of go-no criteria in my mind, and I made this little acronym to help you remember it: topic, eligibility, story, and team. So we're going to test your idea to see if it'll make a good SBIR project. So let's talk about topic first of all. You need to develop a SBIR topic search strategy. And that's one of the reasons this is a daunting process, actually. 11 different agencies. The solicitations are sometimes multiple times per year, spread out all through the year. This is something that we can help you with. Now, what I'm going to be looking for is a great big idea. Every project starts with a great big idea, and that's innovative and significant. Now, innovative and significant is kind of like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's important to get a hold of those words and those concepts. Every agency calls it something different. NSF calls it intellectual merit and broader impact, but it's the same idea. You have to be able to demonstrate that what you have is something that's innovative, new and innovative, and it's significantly impactful. So we're going to look and see if there's an SBIR, STTR topic and which agency and where the deadlines are and so forth, the requirements. Now let's talk about eligibility. This is for for-profit companies located in the U.S. A company has to be greater than 50% owned by U.S. citizen, permanent resident aliens, or domestic business concerns. Or there is some provision for venture capitalist ownership of a company. You have to get into that with the individual agency as you look into making an application. But for the most part, these are companies owned by U.S. citizens or greater than 50% owned by U.S. citizens. And small business, again, is less than 500 employees. Now, these are the legal requirements, and we can get in more detail. It doesn't make sense for this purposes of this talk. But there's some practical considerations that you need to understand. First of all, you have to have staff and facilities to prepare a scholarly document and execute peer-reviewed research project. Now, for some small businesses, that's scary. I mean, that's scary language because they don't even know what a scholarly document is. But in some cases, when I talk to small businesses, but it's very important to be able to articulate your idea clearly and in a well-referenced document with data to support your ideas and and done in a professional manner. And then you have to be able to execute peer-reviewed caliber research. And so these are really important. So these are questions you will be asking when we talk. You'll be asking yourself as to whether you're really a fit from practical, even if you're eligible. Is it a good fit practically? Now, what is your story? This is really simple, and you've seen this before, but I'm going to just go through it. You have to be able to tell a really good, strong story in a short amount of time, in a very limited, page requirement for these proposals. So you need to be able to articulate a very significant need or problem, and you need to show that you are expert in this area, that you've done a deep dive into this, and you really understand the market and the technology, and you understand everything there is about this need and problem, and you've researched it and studied it, and you have data and references to support your knowledge on this. And then you have to be able to show that you have an innovative solution, that you understand the weaknesses in the current technology, the current state of the art. You understand where they've fallen short. You understand where people have failed before in trying to solve this problem. And you're able to show the insight or the invention or the development that you've been able to, the breakthrough that you've been able to come up with that actually solves a problem that in a way that hasn't been solved previously. And then you have to be able to articulate 2 or 3 research questions that need to be answered. In other words, if you've already done all the research and all the answers, you already have all the answers, well, then this isn't a good program for you. Go raise venture capital and go on with it. But this, you need to be able to articulate very clearly what are the research questions that have to be answered in some measurable way. You have to be able to measure and get data so that at the end of your phase 1 project, you can present a convincing case that you've shown feasibility of your idea. And at the end of it, there has to be resulting in a high impact commercial product. So you need to be able to tell that story in a compelling way if you're going to be able to win an SBIR award. Okay, the last idea is team. You have to have a strong team, and present a team. You have to convince the agencies that you're able to execute on this project. So the key person there is the principal investigator, that's known as the PI, and the PI is the one who's directing the project. It's the most important resume in your application. Is the resume of the principal investigator. You have to show how and why that person is qualified to manage and direct this research project. In many cases, the one who's actually worked on and developed this technology is the one that's going to be the PI. But they have to be well trained in the topic. They have to be very an authority in this. People sometimes ask me if there has to be a PhD. No, it doesn't have to be a PhD. We worked with a small business in here in Wisconsin that was just a small four-person operation, and they got several awards, multi-million-dollar awards from the Department of Defense in engine technology. Well, it turned out the team had been together for 40 years working at Harley Davidson and Briggs and Stratton and so forth. So they were very qualified. They didn't have PhDs, but they knew engines inside and out. So, and then the person has to be able to demonstrate. You have to be able to demonstrate this person can run the project. And I say usually, the person has to be an employee of the small business. Now, I'll give you the nuance there. They have to be employed at least 50% of their time in the small business. That doesn't mean they have to spend 50% of their time on this project, but their primary employment needs to be with the small business. So if you have questions on that later, that's usually that sometimes is a roadblock or an obstacle for people. But the principal investigator needs to be an employee of this business. And the only time that's not the case is in an STTR. Some of the agencies will allow the PI to be a person from the university. So you have to have a strong scientific and technical team, skilled technicians and scientists. You're allowed to use collaborators and consultants, but most of the work has to be done by your own company. You can use strategic advisors, university researchers, consultants for market, technical, etc. So that's support and team. So let's move on now and talk about what are some of the things you can do to get started. Well, after COVID, they're back having national conferences again. These national conferences they're held usually once a year. Some of the agencies hold them more than that. But this is a really good opportunity to learn about the SBIR program, to get resources for writing applications. But the main thing is that the different agencies have their people there. So it's very difficult sometimes to connect with somebody from USDA or someone from Department of Energy, but they'll have people here at their national conference. So that's a good way to get started. Review the SBIR.gov, as I mentioned before, website and tutorials. It's a good idea to research what's previously been funded in the area that you're working on. So if you want, it's important to understand what the agencies have already funded in this area, and that's a good thing to do to do a little homework on it. Read now when you find a solicitation that you think is applicable for you, read the entire solicitation carefully. There might be things in there that might be obstacles to you. There might be things in that solicitation that you can't live with, or that your company can't live with. You have to understand the entire solicitation carefully. I won't use the word onerous, but it's a very involved, let's say, it's a very involved process to put in one of these applications. So it's important for you to understand what the solicitation is calling for. And it's important to talk to the agency technical topical manager. I would never actually write a proposal myself unless I'd actually talk with the person at the agency who's going to be making the decisions on funding these. I really want to make sure that I understand what they're looking for, and I really want them to be able to tell me that this is a topic that they're interested in, and that and that they have funding for. So it's important to speak with the agency topical manager. Those are things we can help you with. And I would say plan to spend 8 to 12 weeks to complete an application if you're doing it for the first time. It could take you more if you don't dedicate yourself to it, but if you're doing it the first time, it's seldom going to take less than this amount of time. And so that's why it's important to get help and guidance. So what can we do? Well, I would say let the New Jersey SBDC help you to get started. We'll have a meeting with you to test your fit, to test whether your idea is really a good fit for the program. We'll help you to identify the agencies and solicitation topics. We'll help you to develop a proposal strategy. It's important to be able to write for an SBIR. This is different kind of writing than any other kind of writing. And they think in terms of aims, which are research outcomes, not activities. Many times a small business says, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to study this in the lab or study that in the lab. And that's not really how you want to articulate your project. You want to articulate in very clear-cut aims that are tied very closely to those research questions I mentioned before. And we really want to help you to understand and define and articulate what the significance is of your project. And significance is really defining and solving a problem that has a solution that has great impact if you solve it. And then we have to be able to talk about the budget, because there are pretty strict limits on the budget and how you can spend the money. So it's usually, if you've never done this before, it's usually a good idea to talk to somebody, about the budget, and we can help doing that in the early stages of your proposal preparation. And then finally, as you get closer to the end, we provide review and guidance. Like I said, the people on our team have been agency reviewers before. So it's you're getting with the NJSBDC, you're getting highly qualified people to help you provide review and guidance for your draft proposals. So just to wrap up, this is a big opportunity for dilutive funding, but if it's a fit for your company and it's strategic at this time, what do I mean by that? Is go chasing grants. They could have accomplished something more that was far more strategic for the company. So yes, this is a good opportunity, but only you can decide if it really is strategic and worth the effort for your company at this point. And of course, we can help you think through that. And it's going to take some significant effort, and we can help you with it. So I'm going to end it right there. And if you have questions, I assume we're going to be taking some questions, Chris. I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome. Yes. We are going to take questions. Let me go ahead and pull up my end. All right. So whoever is still here, please submit any questions into the Q&A box. It's on the bottom of your toolbar. It's going to say just Q&A. And you can ask as yourself and anonymously as well. So, let's see. David, you could keep your video on. I'm going to read out the questions to you because some of them might be specific to SBIR, STTR. So, all right. So first question. Is this only for New Jersey's? Can I incorporate in Delaware and get the funding? So for the NJSBDC to provide you assistance, your company has to be based in New Jersey. However, the SBDC network exists in every state of the country. As far as incorporation and things like that, what do you have to say, David?
Yeah, it's a national program, but of course, it has to be a New Jersey-based program for this group.
For us to help at least, right?
Right.
But SBIR, STTR is a nationwide program available to anyone in the U.S.
Yeah, and it's available to everyone, and you have to decide yourself, I guess, Chris. As to many companies are organized in Delaware. That shouldn't be a problem. Usually, it's you have some guidance as to that their primary operation is in New Jersey.
Correct. Right. Great. Next question I have here is there a similar program in Los Angeles? There is, if you're talking about the SBDC, most likely, again, there's an SBDC that covers your county in every state. So if you just Google Los Angeles SBDC, you should be able to find one. Ingrid asks, does this also apply for 501c3 nonprofits in New Jersey?
No.
That's
a definite no. That's why the first eligibility was a for-profit business operating in the U.S.
There we go. All right. Media Now asks, will SBIR support a research-only phase?
It will be really difficult to get funding for it. Many times, I mean, you can get phase 1 funding for the research, but if you can't articulate a clean pathway to the market, you're probably not even going to get phase 1 funding. Now, I say that in some cases, it's agency by agency, the Department of Defense is very interested in solving very specific problems. And if you have something that solves one of their problems, you know, everything is flexible. Everything is flexible. But normally, if you can't articulate a pathway to market, if you can't show that you have commercial merit, it's going to be really hard to get funded for research only. That's not what
Gotcha.
this is. This isn't for research. It's for building businesses based on new technology.
Yeah. So that's sort of why federal government has provided funds to organizations like the NJSBDC to provide the help within the research and things of that nature. We have the resources. So there you go. Next question, we have Stanley. He asks, are the tech innovations presented, are they covered under NDAs or do they become public info?
They are covered. They are covered under confidentiality agreements. Having said that, I usually would advise a company to have their intellectual property in place before they submit an application. Now, having said that, that's not that there's many companies that get funded in place or even filed, but you know, the reviews are conducted under non-disclosure agreements. That's true, okay, but there are also the people that sit on these panels are the leaders in research and industry in this topic field. So if you've got something that's really of interest, you know, is it going to be safe? I don't know. It's supposed to be, but I would say that you know, to be safe, my guidance is generally to have your application filed anyway. You know, having said that, sometimes you're going to develop a new innovation as part of this research, and it's not under. So what's available? Your proposal is not available publicly. You can mark confidential areas in your proposal and designate them, saying this page or this paragraph is confidential. There is going to be a public abstract or project summary that is going to be public. So you want to make sure that you put whatever you put in that, it's not divulging anything that's confidential. But yes, you can mark areas as confidential, and the proposals themselves are not publicly available.
Perfect. All right. So next question we have is Nalit. Actually, it doesn't seem to be a question. It seems to be a statement that you have your business plan and sort of the skeleton completed. So for you, I'd recommend for you to reach out to your local NJSBDC. If you're in New Jersey, you can go to njsbdc.com or just scan the QR code that you see on your screen and sign up for services. Have a consultant review your business plan, and then they'll forward you to our NJSBDC tech team if you're ready to talk about your tech. All right. Brad asks, to get a phase 2 award, do you first have to get awarded a phase 1 award?
In most cases, yes, but some of the agencies have developed a direct to phase 2 program. And so that varies by agency. And that's another reason, a good reason to talk to the project managers at the agency, because I've heard agencies that they'll give guidance when they talk to these businesses like, oh yeah, you've got plenty of research and background, you know, basically equivalent to what you would have done in a phase 1. It would be good for you to go to phase 2. And then I have them give them totally opposite guidance to a company saying, well, we still rather have you go through phase 1 program before you get phase 2. So yes, there is a direct to phase 2 program for some of the agencies. When you really start zeroing in on the agency, then this is a really good topic to talk with the program manager at the agency.
Perfect. All right, next question here. Seems to be a statement as well. Yannick says, I don't want to say exactly what he mentioned, but he has an idea that might be the next Facebook. And he's worried about confidentiality, but the new invention will resolve major issues. And he'd like to get funding to get it off the ground before it's too late.
Yeah.
I
Well, I think,
recommend
yeah, it's
consulting, right, David?
difficult. It's difficult to give general research on a webinar with 200 people. So I would recommend we talk about this offline.
Right, right. So Yannick, go ahead and reach out or visit us NJSBDC.com, request counseling there, and then we'll take it from there. Manesh asks, how do I submit a business plan? And then goes on to explain his business. I'm trying to not say too much to the public here. I don't know how much everyone wants to say about their business. If you do, put it in the chat. If it's in the Q&A, I'm going to try to keep most of what you're saying confidential. But Manesh, if you want us to review your business plan, you can actually reach out to me. I'm going to put my email into the chat. Now, for everyone still on this webinar, please just be mindful of using this email. This email is only if you have your business plan ready and you are ready for a tech consultant to review. Would you say a proposal, David?
Yeah. Are you talking about reviewing a proposal or reviewing a business plan? I'm not sure
proposal.
what. Pardon?
Proposal.
Yeah. I mean, we can tell really quickly whether you're ready for review or not. So
Right.
let's set up a discussion, and when you sign up with the SBDC, you execute a confidentiality agreement with them, and so all the conversations you have with us will be confidential.
Exactly. So I'm going to put my email here. So if you do have a technical proposal already, so it's ready to go, you can email me at the one I just put into the chat. If not, please register via the NJSBDC.com. There's going to be an email submission thing there, or you can just go to njsbdc.com/request-counseling, or also scan the QR code on your screen. And that'll take you to your closest NJSBDC center so that a consultant can review first your business plan and then see if you need the help of our tech team. That way we can help you the best way we can. All right. Stanley asks, if you have more than one invention, can you apply for each?
Yes, you can, but once you see how daunting the process is, you may decide you don't want to do more than one at a time. I typically tell people do one at a time. The deadlines occur all through the year. Take your best idea and do the best job you can with it, and then while that one's being reviewed, do the other one. You can, though. Yes, you can. You can do multiple ones.
Technically, but physically, probably not possible.
Right. Right.
Stanley also asks if the USDA is one of the agencies that offer SBIR.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And that within the last year or two, they've added the STTR program. So if you have someone at a university you want to collaborate with, there's also a USDA STTR program now too.
Perfect. Bob asked, does nonprofit qualify? We answered this a little earlier, but no, nonprofits
Right.
are a hard no. Anonymous asks, do I need collateral for the application?
No,
All right.
no. But you don't want to defraud the federal government either, because they've got a lot of lawyers. And so
Yeah.
whatever you claim in your proposal, you better be prepared to deliver.
100%. Yeah, don't mess with Uncle Sam. Howard asks, is the guidance from you and your team free of charge? So yes, Lynn, we are supported by the SBA and state partners. So our consulting services, resources, events just like this one are free of charge for you. Technically, your taxes are paying for this, so you should take advantage of the services available to you. All right, Charles is asking for your contact info. So we're not going to bombard David's inbox. So what we'll do is if you have any questions specific to tech, please send it to me. I put my email into the chat, christian.pichardo@njsbdc.com. Just please make sure they're tech related and you think you're ready to get to the next step, or you're in phase 1. All right, Media Now asks, is this a direct program or solicitation, or is this being funneled through active grants?
Through what grant?
Or is this being funneled to active grants?
No, well, every agency has a solicitation. Sometimes it's once a year, sometimes it's twice a year, sometimes it's multiple times a year. So every agency has a very specific solicitation. So
Mark asks, would a pre-revenue startup be a fit depending on the idea?
yes, if it's a company, if it's already a company and you can field a team like we were talking about, yes, pre-revenue companies. In the last few years, there's been sort of a tendency to try to fund more of those, in fact, because they want to be able to make sure that the pipeline is filled with, with as many innovative ideas as they can possibly do. So, yes.
So I'm seeing some common questions and I want to address them. So one, if the slides are going to be available, yes, as soon as this closes out, you have to complete a survey so that you can receive the slides and also the recording of this webinar. Number two, people are asking for contact information. You have to sign up first through the njsbdc.com, register there. Again, it's no cost. And from there, you're going to be assigned to a consultant. That consultant is going to determine if you need tech-specific consulting, and then you'll be redirected to our tech team. Now, if you do think you're in phase 1, you're ready to start submitting a proposal, you can send me an email at the email I put in the chat, christian.pichardo@njsbdc.com. And then the third common question I'm seeing is confidentiality. When you register with the NJSBDC, you are signing confidentiality. We all have to sign for it. So your idea is safe with us. Okay, so now that that's said, let me go through some of these questions. All right, Anthony asks, is this SBIR specifically for lab or drug R&D work, or could it be for an application that supports patients in clinical trials?
Typically, well, in NIH, for example, National Institutes of Health, you could probably get support in a phase 2 for some level of clinical trial. But understand that clinical trials are tens of millions of dollars, and the amount of funding that's available here for the program is not really that high. So there are different programs that NIH has of, you know, trying to get ideas that are in the medical practice out into widespread practice. But the SBIR is probably not the best avenue for that. There are other avenues for that. There's something called CTSIs, for example. There's one in every state. There's one in New Jersey. I think it's at Rutgers. CTSI, Clinical Translational Science. I can't remember what the I is for, but it's a program funded by National Institutes of Health, and it's to help get get ideas into clinical practice. In many cases, that means more clinical trials. But if you're, you know, this is a research program. So if you're at the beginning of trying to develop the drug this is a good fit. If you've already developed it and you're looking to get clinical trials, it's probably not the right program.
So we are at the 1 p.m. mark. How you feeling, David? Are we good for a couple more questions?
Yeah, sure. I've got nothing else to do today, but go. I got nothing else to do today, but go to urgent care, which you should be able to tell from my voice. Yeah.
Right. So everyone, we need to give a big thank you to David. He joined us here even while having, I believe you said you have COVID, right?
No, I don't know if
you don't know
I did
yet.
the antigen test yesterday. I don't think I do, but I had 102 fever this morning. So.
Oh man.
So
yeah, we let's give a big thank you to David for joining.
I use these headsets so that you could hear me better, and so I've been, you know, squeezing my headache here for an hour.
There we go. We're here looking like radio hosts.
Yeah, well, NJSBDC will do what they can to help you.
Awesome. So we've reached the end of our webinar. I know that there are still open questions. We will have future webinars just like this one in the future regarding tech, SBIR and STTR programs. So if you need assistance, please go ahead to NJSBDC.com.
And I would say many of your questions might be available on that SBIR.gov, either in the tutorials or in their frequently asked questions section. So you can get a lot of information on SBIR.gov.
Perfect. So if everyone signs up, registers with the SBDC, you can also get those resources from a business consultant. Again, when you register through there, you're going to get assigned to a general business consultant, and they will determine if you need tech-specific consulting. So go ahead to njsbdc.com/request-counseling. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up on the screen, actually. There you go. It's along the bottom, or again, you can scan the QR code on your screen. And that is pretty much it. I'm going to leave this here for another minute or two so you can get your information. But I want to thank you all for joining. And I hope to see you all next week, which actually, see if I can turn this back here. I believe this is in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about tax season tips for businesses. So if this is relevant to you, which if you have a business, it probably is, would love for you to join. It's in 2 weeks. Go ahead to taxtipsforbusiness.eventbrite.com. That's taxtipsforbusiness.eventbrite.com. All right. So that is all, everyone. Thank you again for joining. Thank you, David, for trooping it out with us. And we will see everyone in the future. Bye.